What's shaking, everybody? Welcome to a Friday edition of House Divided. I'm Jeff Ketchum, otherwise known as I haven't been this despondent since. I think someone asked me that question earlier today, Chad, and my answer was when Roy Halladay died. I've been in my feelings today. That is Chad Hastings. I don't know that he's quite into his feelings the way I am. Guys, do us a solid. Hit that like video, subscribe to the channel, get notifications, do all of those things. And just for the record, I'm talking about Jurgen Klopp leaving the Liverpool job. Nobody quite died, although it does feel, Chad, like I've lost my dad, who I never actually had. So it's a weird feeling to be like, is this what it feels like to lose your dad when you never had a dad? So I don't know. It's complicated. As everybody files into the Specs chat, do know that we will be talking about nothing other than really thoughtful and insightful University of Texas football ideas and thoughts, not my sorrow. And Chad, when you and I had this conversation this morning, like, what's today's show? I think I instinctively told you the most fascinating thing about what's happened in the last 24 hours. It's not Kenny Baker, the coach. It's Steve Sarkisian, the decision and kind of the process that went into leading us to Kenny Baker. And I think there's a really interesting Texas football conversation to have today about how we got to yesterday and what it says about the future of the Texas football program.
I absolutely agree. There's a lot of sort of philosophical type stuff that we'll get into today, but I think it's going to be interesting for Texas fans. Before we get started, a couple of quick chats. We need everybody on this mindset. Guy says, so much news, I feel the need to watch every day. Hell yes, Guy. We agree. We love that idea. And Catch, the working man wants to let you know, if you're an orphan, then God is your dad. There you go. There it is.
I got to be honest, like, never mind.
Yeah. You don't have to be honest, but I'd like you to be if you want to be. That's up to you.
You know, like, I'm just to stick up for the orphans of the world, of which I am not.
Technically, that's not you. That's right. Yeah.
I'd probably have a bone to pick with my dad if that were the case.
That is true. That is definitely true. So we will try to process a lot of feelings today. You know what? Maybe this is the way to get us started. Catch with a $1.99 super chat from Triplet. How many coaches said no before we got here? It's an interesting way to start.
It's a really good question. One of the only text messages I received yesterday from a couple of sources that I reached out to. It was a kind of a quiet day on the source front for me yesterday. And one of the first things I was told was he was on the original list. I would say, you know, it's a really good question. It really should have been like for $20. Triplet, because we're going to end up, I think, spending some time on this. And you'll have gotten it for really cheap. I feel bad. Sometimes Tom G sends in like a $20 chat, and we answer it in like 30 seconds, and then Triplet comes in with a $1.99 that changes the show a little bit.
Yeah, Catch, that's draft value right there. That's like if Jahmyr Gibbs had been a fourth rounder. I mean, that's serious right there.
Larry Allen in round 2. He wasn't the first candidate, right? If nothing else, I think we can pretty much take it to the bank that Rod Wright was at least before him, because Rod Wright was in a position where, quite frankly, they waited on him in the season to end for the Houston Texans. And then only after Rod Wright decided, you know what, this isn't going to work for me, did they move on and get to that place. Look at this.
Oh, wow. Come on now. You got it?
I'm trying to. I hit the wrong button.
Hang on. I got you. There it is. Look at that. Triplet. Putting the real value in. $19.99. All for the love. Thank you, Triplet. Or
That's
Joseph.
funny. You are chatter of the week, brought to you by Specs. That doesn't come with a free bottle of anything, but you are poster of the week.
Yep.
I think that so Rod Wright was one, and then maybe he was two, right? And then if I were to believe, which I do, that he was probably on an original list, we see a skill set that is pretty similar. And matter of fact, if Rod Wright doesn't come to Texas at all, those two guys have profiles that are exactly the same. Coached some college ball, moved into this assistant defensive line position, young, trying to kind of take off at the spot in the NFL.
And if it matters, move to that NFL job at the exact same point.
Yeah,
exactly. In 2023 is when they both went to an assistant D-line job.
Neither guy with any real heavy recruiting under their belt in a way that would go, oh, yeah, but he got this guy. Like that didn't completely exist. The question will have been, because I think first and foremost, every time Sark looks to make a hire, he says, can we get the band back together again? Is there a person that he has a connection with? Is there a person that Jeff Banks has a relationship with? Who does Kowski like? I mean, I think Sarkisian really is, he likes to bring his people when he can. And so the Johnny Nansen, and he likes it when they're overqualified as well. Mm-hmm. Like he hires Johnny Nansen, who is his boy, like they're boys. And that guy's got connection to Jeff Banks, and there's a lot of symmetry on the staff, but these dudes are boys. And, oh, by the way, he was the defensive coordinator at a really successful defensive program this year, had some conflict with his head coach at the time, and was willing to come back and take a position job with a co-coordinator for a lot of money. But like that doesn't happen at all if they're not boys. I mean, even after Fisher took the Washington job, Arizona would have loved to have brought him back to be the defensive coordinator. And you know how that works under, hey, you lost the head coaching position resume discussion. We decided to go with the head coach at San Jose State. Will you work for him? It doesn't work a lot, but they would have loved for that to have happened. So I think this comes down. So it turns out that there wasn't a good fit, I think, in the number one thing Sark values, maybe over anything. Beyond that, it looks like he was looking for a guy who's on the come up. As Anwar Richardson mentioned in the War Room on orangebloods.com last night, and probably on, I didn't watch his show this morning, Anwar, forgive me, but I'm sure he discussed it on the Old Fashioned as well. Go check out that video if you haven't watched it already today. When you're done with us, there's a break, go watch the Old Fashioned and hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and get notifications on both videos. I think he was looking for somebody young, somebody who's hungry, somebody who wants to just pour it into his work, someone who is an X's and O's guy. And I don't think recruiting is at the forefront of how this decision was made, which when we move on from kind of the super chat question to begin with, there's a real interesting element of that I find fascinating. But I think that's it. I think he's at least choice number 2, maybe 3rd or 4th. And I don't know that always necessarily matters, but we know that Rod Wright was there. We know they have similar profiles. Was Rod Wright the first? I don't know. I mean, I doubt Sark will ever answer that. Maybe we'll hear whispers in the coming months, but this was a real low profile coaching search. There were never any names that popped up anywhere as true candidates for the job other than Rod Wright. And even when I reached out to people that I knew in the Texans organization and said, hey, you guys heard anything about Rod Wright in Texas? Not a peep. I reached out to former players at Texas that are friends with Rod Wright. He wasn't saying anything to them. Like, it really was cloak and dagger stuff a lot of the way. But yeah, I don't think he was the first choice. But his profile may have been, once you get beyond, is there somebody that I love like a brother who could come elevate what we have right now and it be a seamless, perfect fit? I don't think that was there. There's a guy at UCLA who's currently the UCLA defensive coordinator who worked with everybody, but would have to give up his defensive coordinator position without a title to take a position coach. And like, there are not a lot of guys that are looking to do that. It's hard to be like, hey, I'm play caller on defense. Real opportunity for me. Oh, position coach because we like each other? Sure. So, yeah, I think that's probably how it worked out, Chad.
Well, you made an interesting point yesterday during the modcast. And if you don't know, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 4:00, check out the modcast.
But occasionally, Chad, I only save the good stuff for the modcast.
You know what?
Apologies for not saying it between 12 and 1.
No, it was a really good point, and it's just about the semantics of assistant D-line coach versus D-line coach. If you're the D-line coach at an NFL team and then you become a D-line coach at the college, people can look at that it's a different light, a little bit different. What I wonder is, had Rod Wright been the guy, would we be having the same resume discussion? Because as you pointed out, it is really weirdly even. Or would Texas fans do this, you can understand it, but do kind of I know who he is. He's familiar to me. He did that to Rhett Bomar in Oklahoma that day, and he's one of our guys. And so we'll trust that he was a badass with the Texans on some level. He's an up-and-coming badass. He's our guy. Like, would there have been a celebration for Rod Wright that is not there for Kenny Baker? But in the end, should it be pretty much equal? Because the resumes are pretty much equal.
Yeah, and look, there will be people who I think will bathe themselves in the possible rejection of it all. There's a lot of, God, who did he get told no? Like, how many times did he get told no before he found himself in a position of hiring guys who were assistant NFL defensive line coaches, or those were guys that were primarily on the deal? One of the things that you and I talked about today, Chad, is this is by choice. He chose to do this because what we know he has is like $1.1, $1.2 million. Absolutely. That's what he was paying his previous D tackle coach. No one at the university came up to him and said, hey, Sark, that Nansen guy really has us above our coaching budget. No matter what you do, no pressure. Yeah. But if you could pay the next guy half, like, I don't think.
No, he had the ability to make everybody except Bo Davis say yes.
He had the ability to money whip somebody if he wanted to. That's not what he chose to do. And it's fascinating to me because Sarkisian went right when everybody was going left. He zigged when everybody else zagged. The conversation coming out of this would have almost certainly have sounded like this. Got to get one of the best recruiters in the country. You can get those, and you can get them for a lot of money. Like, they do become available. They do cost a pretty penny, but Texas got like 1.1, 1.2 to play around with. They could hire somebody with a badass resume. We got to get the most. Oh, we're going into the SEC. We'd have to have the single most established, reputable, badass developer that we can absolutely find for our money. Would make a ton of sense. If you'd hired the Alabama guy and there was no recruiting at all attached to it, and you just went, oh, okay, so you've just been coaching Alabama guys since the beginning of the decade, so you're good. If you could have picked any school, right? It could have come from any major power. And you would have went, oh, okay. Yeah. No, it makes sense. There's a lot of things that conventional wisdom would have suggested that Sarkisian used, that he do. And he zigged when everybody zagged, or he zagged when everybody zigged. But he has gone in a direction that's completely non-conventional. This is the opposite of convention. This is the opposite of what you would have thought he wanted. When he took the job, Chad, the university gave him a pile of money. And they said, go hire the best guy you can hire. You do whatever you want to do. You build your staff that wins us a national championship. And what he didn't do in 2021 was go hire any assistant NFL coaches. It wasn't, and by assistant, I don't mean like a positional coach. I mean the assistant to the positional coach. At this particular position, he went and got Bo Davis, who had worked in the NFL and had worked for Nick Saban and had worked for Mac Brown and had national championship rings, and guys that he had recruited that were 5 stars. And he had a resume that said, I'm one of the baddest mothers at what I do in the entire country. And they paid him among the highest paid position coaches in the country. That's what Sarkisian did with his first staff. And I would contend that's as conventional as it gets. Oh, and by the way, he worked with him. It makes it even more conventional. This isn't conventional. And somewhere along the line, Steve Sarkisian has identified, this is the route that I want to take. This is the best route for me to take. And, you and I were talking about it earlier. Once upon a time, we know that Mike Gundy did something like this, where he could have went and tried to hire as an offensive coordinator or a quarterback's coach a guy with the biggest resume possible. And we know that the folklore is, no, he hired a high school guy, or, he goes out and hires somebody at a university that's 8 levels removed from where he's at. And it's a little bit like that. It's just as unconventional as that. It's just a different kind of unconventional. And I think that there are some similarities in the hire of Chris Jackson. And if we think of it like that, right, because he goes to the NFL to get Chris Jackson. Well, think about how that evolved over 3 years. In year 1, he hires Andre Coleman. No resume whatsoever as a recruiter, but was a guy very well respected. He retains one guy from the old staff that, could help them ease their way in, transition their way in. And he's gone in a year. Who do they replace Andre Coleman with? They look at the college football landscape and they say, who is the new baddest guy on the planet? And it was Brennan Marion with the go-go offense and having just coached Jordan Addison to the Bolitnikoff. So they hired the guy that I think a lot of people wanted them to hire in this hire. Go get the defensive tackle version of Brennan Marion 2 years ago. But Brennan Marion didn't work at Texas. Brennan Marion, I don't think even if Brennan Marion hadn't gotten the UNLV offensive coordinator job, I think there's a good chance that he would have only been at Texas for 1 year, period, full stop. There was a lot of people that felt like Brennan Marion taking the UNLV job was a soft landing spot for him because there might not have been a year 2. I don't know that for a fact, but there's certainly been a lot of conversation about that. So if Sarkisian believes that the Marion experience didn't work and he just did that, now Chad is moving on to a slightly different profile, because when he's done that, it actually didn't work out in the way that he hoped/thought it would work out. And he hasn't repeated that process again. When he could have done it now, he could have hired the Brennan Marion of defensive tackle coaches. Instead, he went after somebody with a profile and a level of experience that's specifically less than Brennan Marion. You know, I mean, Brennan Marion has at least coached major college football. He's recruited national prospects. He's done that bit enough that you know that he's got experience. Kenny Baker's never really been in a recruiting battle of note. There's just nothing that he could have ever done at Chattanooga or Mercer or even Western Kentucky that is remotely similar to what he's about to be tasked with coaching in the SEC, coaching at Texas, at a place where the demands are go get a 5-star. That's the task. And if you don't do it, we are going to talk about you, because that's what you have to do. So I'm fascinated by the Sarkisian part of this, because this is what he chose. He could have money whipped. He could have tried an NFL position coach. He could have tried a young up-and-comer who's already more proven. He wanted somebody with an NFL background who's young, on the come-up, willing to work hard, recruiting experience be damned, headline be damned, right? Like, this isn't a splash. This isn't, oh boy, wait till the 5-stars hear about who we hired. Like, it doesn't quite hit like that, but it wasn't like forced. It wasn't like Sarkisian was told no 15 times. So here he is at the NFL assistant D-line line. He chose that himself. And I'm fascinated to see how much he'll answer about why this hire was made and how he ended up here, because we can only somewhat put our fingers on the pulse of what he was looking for. We can look at the mutual profiles and say, what do they have in common? But there could be extra little things that only Sarkisian could tell us.
We do have a super chat that just came in for 20. We will get that here in just a second. It is House Divided on a Friday. Catch, let's tell them about prime shrimp at the risk of making me too hungry for lunch later, because it does sound good.
I thought the same. Before you brought this up, about an hour ago, I had that same thought. Prime shrimp today does sound good. Scan that QR code, go to the website, primeshrimp.com. Make sure you order 6 packages plus and use that promo code OrangeBloods30, because you'll get a 30% discount. They've got a number of different dinners, all shrimp themed, mostly like Cajun themed. If you want to hear, matter of fact, I don't want to get it wrong, but I feel like the people listening should absolutely have an idea. Why don't I have this in front of me? Because I'm just not prepared today. Forgive me. Jurgen Klopp left Liverpool, and
look, people behind Catch right now, and some of those collectible things, he's got Klopp. He's got this man immortalized in gold behind protective plastic behind him that's accruing in value.
Chad, you have no. I have. I'll at the end of the show, I'll show it.
I know. It's.
I want to let people know about garlic herb French Quarter Alfredo, New Orleans style barbecue. That's my favorite. Shrimp Cajun, seasoned shrimp, Louisiana boiled Cajun, lemon and cracked peppered. They even got a brand new one coming soon, soy ginger shrimp. And they even have, just look, if you want unseasoned shrimp because you want to do it yourself or whatever, they have that too. The bottom line is they all taste fantastic. They're all super affordable, and they're all easy to make and heat up. Give prime shrimp a chance today, this weekend. Do it.
There you go. Makes me nice and hungry for a meal later on. All right, here comes that super chat from one of our favorites, Money B, with an Andrew Jackson. $20. What have you heard regarding Sark's approach, culture fit, recruiting, work ethic, etc., towards hiring assistants? Does the NFL coach's ability to deal with egos matter, since we are in the NIL era? Thank you, Money B.
I'll answer the first question first. It couldn't have been a coach's ability to deal with egos, because quite frankly, he's never had this responsibility. He works in the NFL, but it's not his job to manage the egos. That's not yet been part of his mission statement as an assistant coach. So if that were one of the main things that Sarkisian was looking for, he probably would have hired an actual NFL position coach and then been able to say, this guy's had Ndamukong Lou in his Sue in his locker room. And boy, he knows how to deal with characters and egos. I'm telling you, I think from a recruiting standpoint, Sark believes you got me and you got Jeff Banks. And, we've got other guys, Tashard Choice. He's a fantastic recruiter. But at the end of the day, if we have a position that needs help, well, Jeff Banks is just recruiting tight ends. He got some time. It's not like there are 10 tight ends that Jeff Banks has to. He's got to get 1 or 2 at most a year. There's hardly ever any good ones to find. He's got some time to help. And Sarkisian, I think, thinks I'm the best help. The way Matt Brown used to be, quite frankly, when he was in Austin. It was like, look, the best. He's like one of these guys in the NBA who's like, give me the ball. Let's play ISO. Get out of my way. Get out of my way. I will score. And that's how I think Sarkisian feels about recruiting. So, look, I'm sure they believe that Kenny Baker can be a good recruiter. He's just not a good recruiter now. So it's about, if recruiting matters, Sark's going to lean on himself. Clearly, the thing that mattered the most wasn't this guy's a badass recruiter.
Catch, I think the key here might end up just being the teaching element of it. Because think about the living room in terms of recruiting. What Sark may have learned over time is just that, look, having a badass D-line coach is fine. But in the end, is that what gets you the recruit? That the D-line coach has some kind of resume, or is he the one, or Banks? Is there some star they send into the living room? And what the D-line coach has to be is a badass teacher. And that's where I would go to Money B's comment about the NFL, Catch. If I'm the assistant D-line coach in the NFL, hell, even if I'm the defensive line coach in the NFL, you're right. I don't think you have to deal with egos. What you do is teach the egos. You have to stand up to a 33-year-old man or a 22-year-old stud, and you have to teach them the move. Hey, dude, I don't care what you make, but when you do that, you leave yourself open, because badass tackles can put you in the seats. So what I'm telling you is this technique is this, not this. I think that's the key.
What they didn't hire is the best technique teacher in the world. If you wanted that, you'd have gone to the NFL and hired somebody at the very highest level who's known as a great teacher. I mean, no offense to Kenny Baker's, I'm going to be a bit critical of the hire here in this sense, but it's not really any thoughts towards him. But if the idea was, and I do think one of the reasons he was hired is he does have a reputation for being a guy who's a good teacher. But he's not the best teacher. That's not what Texas hired. If Texas wanted to hire the best teacher available, because that's the most important thing, and we need to be a developer of players in the NFL, because that's the thing that matters the most, then you would have hired somebody who's done more of it than he has. No offense to Kenny Baker. But again, whatever it is that Sark was looking for, Baker has it. But the thing that I think is easiest to do is to point out all of the things that Sark didn't make the hire for, because they're the most easiest to recognize. Because, a year ago, he felt like he needed that in a wide receivers coach, and he went out and hired an NFL position coach, a guy who you could directly say was in charge of this player and this player and this player. When you're the assistant to the position coach, you get neither credit nor blame. If you're the assistant wide receivers coach for the LA Rams, you don't get to say, well, yeah, no, I was the assistant position coach this year for Paka Nakua, and look how good he did. Right. I don't know who that guy is. There's a reason for it. None of us believe that who no matter how much he might have contributed, the guy that will get credit for that is the guy who actually coaches the position. And ultimately, we'll just say Puka Nacua was just badass.
Right.
We rarely in the NFL go, thank God he's got that position coach. We do it with quarterbacks. I don't ever remember a great player on the Dallas Cowboys. I never went, oh my God, thank God for Hudson Hawk or, Larry Allen would have been nothing. It's like.
Right. But again, that gets you back to the basic argument of it's about having a badass head coach that does badass recruiting, and you're going to get those 4- and 5-star guys. Back to what he's thinking here, using Rod Wright and Baker. It's almost like he's thinking back to the discussion we had yesterday. I want the guy that's headed there.
Yes.
If I talk to NFL guys and say to them, hey, in 3 years, is he running a defensive line in the NFL? And they all go, oh, hell yeah, absolutely. That's where he is. We see him as that next guy. D-line coach has got to go do something. He leaves it with him, and everything feels like it's still running smoothly, and the players are responding to him. And if we've asked the player, hey, what do you think of Baker? Their response has been, he's good. He's good. It's like, it almost feels like he wants that. It's that, who's that next guy that'll be the D-line coach, and then a badass college will talk him into their job, and the fan base will go, oh man, that's a great get. It's almost like Sark wants that, but he wants it 3-4 years in advance.
I don't disagree with you. And again, I can't wait. I'd love to be able to hear Sark really provide some insight into like how this happened. Because you could make a case, and we do this with players. One of the things I argue all the time is that if you're Texas, you don't have to take 3 stars. Let those guys go to Tech. Let those guys go to Oklahoma State or Wyoming or Texas State, wherever. Let them go. UTSA. Let Trey Moore go to UTSA. Let him become the nation's #1 sack guy. And then we'll take him.
Right.
That when you're Texas and you're Georgia and you're Alabama and you're Oklahoma and you're among the best programs in the country, you don't have to be the place that develops. You can be the place that takes. What Texas rolls out at the wide receiver position this year is somewhat already developed. Like Isaiah Bond shows up, one of the better wide receivers in the SEC. When we talk about Silas Bolden, he will show up having been one of the better receivers in the Pac-12. If you're Texas, and we're not talking about this position coach, we're just talking about in general, the idea would be hire the guy who's already a badass, make sure, I hate to keep going with a Tommy Boy reference, but get the guy with a guarantee on the box. Even if there's just a big old pile of shit in the box. A guarantee on the box is a guarantee on the box, because you never know if these things are going to work or not. Sometimes you get them wrong, and sometimes you accidentally get them right. Like there are all kinds of ways these things go in life. He didn't go get the guy who's remotely proven. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. Has he coached? Has he been an NFL coach? No. Has he been a coach at major college football really at any level? No. Has he ever been in a recruiting battle involving anything other than a 2-star? No. So he's unproven. Yep. He's got no resume with names on it that anybody knows. There's more he hasn't done it than he has. So again, what was it about him that made Sarkisian ignore all of this? Because I'm not even being remotely critical when I bring this stuff up. I'm acknowledging elephants in the room. If somebody approached me today and said, hey, man, heard Texas got a new defensive tackle coach. Where's he from? Oh, man, he's from Miami, the Dolphins. Oh, yeah, he's the defensive line coach for the Dolphins? Well, no, he's the assistant defensive line coach for the Dolphins. Oh, well, where did he coach before? Chattanooga. Oh, has he ever coached major college football anywhere? No. Oh. Hey, who's he? Is he a recruiter? I have no idea. Like those are the things that people are first asking, and the answer to all of those is hope. right? It's confirmation bias kicking in and saying, I think it's going to work. There's no proof that it will work. There's nothing to lean on to say, oh yeah, because they've done it like this before and this is the way that it goes. What happens is we all want to be more optimistic in life in general than negative. Nobody wants to look at this and go, God damn it, Sark, you failed. It's not going to work. It's done. Like nobody wants to do that. What everybody wants to do is say, yeah, no, I like it. Yeah. I like it. This guy's young and he knows X's and O's and Sark heard somebody that Sark gave him a great recommendation and they must know something. Yes. Yeah. And in reality, like that's what we'll do. But my thought process in general about how good of a hire this is, I'm still stuck in neutral, Chad. Like I can see why people would like it. I can see why people would be concerned. I can neither say it's fantastic or bad. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and another way to look at it here, we do have a couple super chats. Oscar El Presidente, we will get to you, and we appreciate it. One other angle to look at it might be through that fan lens. Let me ask it this way. If A&M or Oklahoma or Bama or Georgia or LSU had just hired this guy for this job, what would Texas fans' reaction have been?
They'd laugh.
So that's in terms of a prism to look at it through. Like, let me ask it this way: we're on House Divided. Is there more of an argument for Colin?
Real quick, Chad, Saban would sometimes do weird things too, and even Alabama fans with Nick Saban would say, "Nick, what the hell are you doing?"
Yeah, no, exactly. Is there more of an argument to hire Colin Klein as the OC at A&M than there is to hire this guy as D-line coach at Texas?
Yes.
Yeah. And that was a hire that kind of got a what from some fan bases and a from some fan bases, including Texas fans. So
but I want to say, like, Chad, I'm rooting for the guy. Like, I hope people don't watch this video and go, golly, Kenny Baker sleep with Ketch's wife? Are those even Ketch's kids? Does Kenny Baker have two twins in the Woodlands that he doesn't know about? Ketch's in his feelings. No, I'll be honest. In a weird way, I'm probably rooting more for Kenny Baker to succeed than anybody that Sark has ever hired. Because what a story this guy. I'm a romantic. 3 days ago, this guy may not known whether or not he was going to have a job in 2024. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. He was in a situation where he's hired by the Dolphins, but the Dolphins just got rid of their defensive coordinator. That defensive coordinator just took a job in Philly. Would he have a job in Philly? Maybe, maybe not. Would the new guy that comes in with the Dolphins take in some of the old guys? Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe he wanted to bring in his own assistant defensive line coach. This guy could have been jobless and just looking to get a job somewhere. And instead, he's defensive line coach for Texas, probably making 5 or 6 times in money what he was making a week ago. Like, what an opportunity. What a story. It'd be like, look, man, if we brought an intern in to just start doing a show with us. And it's like, was he ever done a show before? No, man, he hasn't. No, not really. Well, why'd you hire him? Well, he's young and we think he's got an opportunity, but he's never done any of this before. No, but we feel really good about it. We think he's going to be a natural. And then if it happens, you just get to say, damn, we called it. We knew it. What a hire. I hope the guy does great. I will be his biggest fan, his biggest supporter, because there's nobody on, and I've watched the videos. He seems very likable. Like, this is an easy guy to root for. Mm-hmm. The thing we can't do, though, is pretend. We can't sit in the pretend land that they hired the best recruiter possible, the most experienced teacher possible, the best guy available that money can buy. Like, they didn't do those things. And so for me, the interesting thing becomes, why did Sark do this? And there's a piece of this guy's profile that Sark is really intrigued and attached to that I think's interesting to explore.
A lot of good chats and super chats. Sorry about that little mistake there. I was trying to line some stuff up here. We will get to let's get to these super chats here. How about this one to start with? Oscar $4.99. I get it was Bo, but then he got hired from Detroit. They sucked. But is that a Bo Davis reference? It's not Bo.
Yeah, Bo was in Detroit.
Oh, okay. So it is. I get it.
But and he's saying that Detroit sucked.
Okay.
Oscar, can you rewrite it? I'd rather know for sure. You don't have to super chat it, but I'd rather know exactly what you're asking than try to guess.
Yeah. And then this is a 1999 from El Presidente. Thank you, Presidente. With all due respect to Bo Davis, he was making $1 million, but wasn't killing it on the recruiting trail. That room isn't lined up with 5-star talent like other schools. Imagine where Texas would be without Tom Herman's DTs.
El Presidente, thank you for the chat. And Bo, and look, Chad, how many times have you and I been doing a show this year where I've said every guy that he's working with is Tom Herman recruited? And
absolutely. Yeah.
So one thing you won't find on this show, we haven't started bashing Bo, and I don't even think we're bashing Bo Davis, but El Presidente is right. Bo wasn't killing it in recruiting. He was not. And when this job opened up, one of the things that was talked about was it's an opportunity to improve on that. Now, that might actually happen. There's no way of knowing, but it being a possibility does exist. You just don't know for certainty that that's exactly what you're going to get. But yes, Texas does need better than Bo Davis on the recruiting trail. And if next year, we talked about this on the modcast when we're talking about what are the minimum level of expectations to assign for Baker in year one to call it a success. Chad, the two of them were on the field that his position is just not a liability. Doesn't have to be the best position on the team, but when the season ends, you can't say something didn't get accomplished because of his position. So just get him okay, get him good. Don't make him a team weakness, right? And then off the field, I think he's got to do better than Bo Davis. You got to go out and land a super blue chip. If you don't, that part of your job task is a disappointment. You need to know that if you're not signing super blue chips, national top 70 guys that will say the exact same thing that we said about Bo Davis, not good enough. Yeah. Not good enough. You can't look at the recruiting that this program does at every other position. Oh my God, it's like one 5-star quarterback after another. Running backs. Everybody thinks this is one of the most deeply talented running back rooms in the entire country. Wide receivers. They're just plucking guys from all over the place. 5 stars in recruiting. Top guys in the portal. Tight end? Yeah, we'll come back to that one maybe. Offensive line, Kyle Flood. Recruits like gangbusters. Has multiple 5 stars all over the place. Linebackers. They got Anthony Hill. Like they've got 5 stars in the secondary. 5 stars. This is a team that recruits fantastic all over the place. Even this year, they got a 5-star edge player. At Bo Davis's position group, they've done none of that. Not even anything remotely close to that. And you know what? None of Bo Davis's pupils are currently lined up and ready to go to be a major piece of the Texas defense next year. There's hope. There's hope. But there's not one guy. I mean, you know what? It's that blind confirmation bias hope, too. There's no proof that that's going to happen, but we choose to believe that it will because the alternative sucks. I think that there's a real opportunity here. If Kenny Baker is a success and he recruits well and this team is good on the field, do you know what his reputation instantly becomes in 3 or 4 years? He's better than Bo Davis. Like that's what's on the line for him. He's gone from don't know what I'm going to do next year to, if I do my job well, in 2 or 3 years, I'll be making $1 million+ a year, and people will think of me as the better version of Bo Davis. And, What a time. What a live. Kenny Baker, go get
it. El Presidente, thank you for that. $19.99 on the super chat. You know those go right to the top of the line. We also got an explanation from Oscar. We will get to that. We've got buy or sell coming right up at 1 o'clock. Right now, real quick, let me tell you about McCullough Heating and Air Conditioning. Once again, 1977 is when they got started at McCullough, taking care of your air conditioner, taking care of your heater. You know that's important if you live in the state of Texas, because the cold can get damn cold, but we know the hot can get really, really hot. That's on the way. Make sure your system's ready to go. $39 is all it costs you for that diagnostic fee to check the AC, check the heater, make sure everything is rolling right. If you do need a new system, there are discounts and tax credits and rebates out there to help you out. And McCullough will help you with that rebate paperwork and help you get it all taken care of. They've got over 1,500 4.8 star ratings on Google, so you can count on them. 518-0119 or coolmenow.com. They are McCullough Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, so Catch, we got a clarification here. Let's go to that one real quick from Oscar in terms of Baker. Says, in terms of his Bo Davis comment about Detroit. Says, I just mean he came from a terrible team. He had a resume, but what had he done lately when he got hired? Okay.
I mean, I tell you what. Let's do this, Oscar. I'm going to pull up Bo Davis's resume, which you can find. Like, he's got to have a Wikipedia page, right? Let me see what I had at the University of Texas Athletics, if they had this thing fully meshed out. Okay. So, Bo Davis. Where are we at here? Come on, Bo. Bo Davis at a glance. The coaching. Oh, my God. How is the first link I click on with Bo Davis, a bio from when he joined the program in 2011? They're missing a decade. How did that just – they must have scrubbed it. Okay. So here's his coach experience.
Okay.
He was a Miami Dolphins defensive line assistant in 2006, along with strength and conditioning.
There it is.
So once upon a time, Nick Saban took the Alabama job in 2007, and he hired Bo Davis. And Bo Davis was basically – ta-da! Kenny Baker.
So just so I'm getting clear on this, Nick Saban hired the assistant D-line coach from the Miami Dolphins, and he became the greatest college coach of all time. Is that what you're telling me? Did I say anything that was false? Did I say anything untrue? That happened. Did you hear what I said, Texas fans? He hired the assistant defensive line coach from the Dolphins, and he became the greatest coach ever. Just saying.
All Steve Sarkisian did was the exact same thing that Nick Saban did in 2007.
Dude, if he sits down on February 7th and says, I'm following the Saban game plan, so sue me, that would be awesome. That would be one of the greatest comments ever.
Okay, so Oscar, I haven't even answered your question yet.
No, we'll get there.
But I hadn't completely realized that about Bo Davis until just then. So forgive me. I can't believe nobody at Texas has thrown that out there at me. Hey,
come on.
It's literally the exact same thing that Nick. Why do I feel like Jerry Seinfeld all of a sudden? It's exactly the same thing. He goes to Alabama and he coaches at Alabama for 4 seasons, and he wins a national championship as a defensive line coach.
Okie doke.
Then he goes to Texas, and he's a part of 3, what do we call those Mac Brown years from 2011 to 2013? 3 years of disappointment.
There you go.
Then he goes right back to Alabama, and he wins a national championship as the defensive line coach. Then he went to Jacksonville as a defensive intern.
Wow, I forgot about that.
Screams, I want to be in the NFL so bad that I'll take an internship
Which screams, if I go to one more living room in the state of Georgia, I'm going to lose my mind. I got to get away from it for a while.
But then Bo Davis, after a year at Jacksonville as an intern, took the defensive line job at UTSA. And he was there for a year. And then for 3 years, not one, not two, not three, he was the defensive line coach for the Detroit Lions.
3 years.
3 seasons. Oscar, if the question is, he came from a terrible team, what had he done lately when he was hired? It was coach 3 seasons in the NFL. They don't let you do that.
As the D-line coach, correct?
As the D-line coach.
As the D-line coach, yeah.
There's 32 positions in the world that exists at that level. And he held one for 3 years. That's what he did at Texas. That's what he did before coming to Texas. And I said this yesterday. I'll say it today. Texas could have hired any actual defensive line coach in the NFL. No matter how terrible of the defense it might have been the year before, you still would have been hiring an actual NFL defensive line coach. And people would have looked at it and said, I totally get it. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of when Greg Robinson got the defensive coordinator job back in 2004. And people were like, well, this guy just got fired by Dick Vermeil in Kansas City. Like, you can't bring this guy on. He just got fired. And it's like, well, yeah, no, he got fired as a longtime defensive coordinator he has Super Bowl rings, 2 of them as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Yeah. And yes, he got fired this year as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. You have to be able to see that hiring a guy with multiple Super Bowl rings recently in the NFL and a guy that has done nothing but be a defensive coordinator in the NFL that handle being a defensive coordinator in the Big 12. And you know what? Greg Robinson was the best hire that Mac Brown ever made. And everything that you'd ever wanted, he never actually had Greg Robinson for very long. He had Greg Robinson in 2004 and then lost him. And then Greg Robinson came back in 2013 mid-season and almost saved Mac's job by winning the Big 12 championship after he'd already fired Manny Diaz for unspeakable things that occurred. We're not allowed to talk about the Manny Diaz defensive era. So I would say, going to the NFL in whatever capacity, I don't hate that, Chad. I love the idea that he's coming from the NFL. I think the question that just constantly is going to be asked until this thing kind of sorts itself out on the field is, could he have done better? Yeah. I think better is subjective, because it's like when I say damn good and I say, well, what does damn good mean to you? Some people are like, oh, that means that's better than great. Some people will say, oh, well, it's slightly better than good. It's not good. It's damn good. Everybody's got a different feel for what that means. To say what's the best hire possible, I would love to know how Sarkisian answers that. What, in your mind, what were the prerequisites that would make for the best hire possible? And did you hit those?
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think that's going to be part of the answering process of how it goes on. I hope he gives us something on February 7th. I would love to know. I would love to think that either on his own he gets into it, or somebody asks that question and he gets in there. Catch, we're a few minutes away from buy or sell, but I do feel like Ricardo needs to have his joke read on the show. Here we go. Ricardo, you're the man. Chad, that's the same thing as Aggies accepting their FCS portal transfers as badass SEC players. We're laughing and they're happy. Well done, Ricardo.
I mean, it's fair.
It is actually not in many ways, but let Ricardo.
It's fair.
Let Ricardo have his moment. I could remind Ricardo that, Purdue and Alabama and Florida and K-State are not FCS teams. But I get it. A&M's got garbage in the portal. They're terrible. Aggies are overrated. I get it.
Don't get in your feelings. I don't think he meant every guy.
No, of course he didn't mean every guy. No, but he made sure to get the FCS joke in there. It was well done. I am applauding you, Ricardo, for that.
No, you're not. It's the worst volleyball clap applauding you've ever done.
No. It was a good volleyball clap. It was a good. It's a good clap. All right. So how about this one from Deborah? This is a nice 2-spot here. Deborah says, so why did Miami hire him? The Dolphins. Why would the Dolphins get a guy from Western Kentucky? And then Blake throws in this detail. Vic Fangio is one of the most respected defensive minds of the last 20 years, and he hired him. That would also be true. Fangio did just lose his job, and he goes and gets is he going to end up in Philly? Have they done that yet? Okay. So Vic Fangio is a well-known name. So that's where you just get back to maybe you just have to trust people that know defense in the NFL and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but he hired him as an assistant defensive line coach.
Exactly. Right. An assistant defensive line coach. And Ketch, you said an interesting word earlier, and it's not a word that you normally would associate with these kind of situations. Romantic. You talked about you being a romantic and rooting for this guy and rooting for the story. Deep down, I don't know. Could this be one of those situations where for some reason that resume stands out to him because it reminds them of the Rod Wright resume, but it could just be one of those guys where you sit in the room with him, you ask the questions, you talk about his teaching, you watch him teach, or you've heard about him teach, and you just think, I know what the resume says, but this is the guy. This is the guy.
Well, if you think about Bo Davis's journey, so the question is, why did Miami hire him, right? Well, why did Miami go after Bo Davis, right? What was it that led Bo Davis there? If you go back and you look at Bo Davis's his bio before he was with the Dolphins.
Yep.
He was the assistant strength and conditioning coach for LSU.
Okay, so he wasn't even he not even technically on the defensive side.
He wasn't coaching football.
Yeah.
He was coaching strength and conditioning. Why did Miami hire him as an assistant defensive line / strength and conditioning coach? Well, maybe they really like those strength and conditioning things.
Uh-huh.
Maybe.
At that time, being strength and conditioning at LSU probably didn't look like a bad thing.
No, because you're coming with Nick Saban. Saban had been at LSU and won a national championship while this guy was one of the strength and conditioning coaches there. So he probably, I can't remember that far back for Bo Davis, but he would have earned his chops being a strength and conditioning coach. What's the pay of an assistant D-line strength and conditioning coach? Well, I don't know about then, but now he's probably making like $100,000 a year. So who's gonna fall into the category of coaches that are willing to work for that amount of money? Think anybody in the major college level who's an actual defensive line coach is turning like $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 a year to go backwards to make 7 to 10 times less money to go into the NFL? Probably not. Probably not. But if they do it because they're desperate to get there. So somewhere along the lines, when Miami was looking for an assistant defensive line hire, they needed it to be somebody with a certain skill set who was willing to work for this amount of money and take this amount of glory and this amount of uncertainty of what do you do when you are done with this job. And I think from that pile of candidates, the interesting thing is that Vic Fangio selected Kenny Baker. Why Kenny Baker selected, or why Vic Fangio selected Kenny Baker, probably goes a long way to telling us why Sarkisian hired Kenny Baker. The issue is, I don't think Vic Fangio's ever completely gone on the record about it, because assistant position coaches aren't the kind of things that people who cover the NFL ever bring up. It's like you and I were talking. One of the crazy things about this hire is that a couple of members of the Orange Blood staff have reported and confirmed, like, we reached out to people in Miami who cover the Dolphins. And we said, hey, tell us about Kenny Baker. And they were like, who? It's wild to think that could even happen.
Right.
But it did. And there's just a lot of ways to look at this. And to me, they're all fascinating. People are like, Catch, what a wet rag you are over this hire. Well, look, I'm never going to lie to you. There are people out there today. I have seen the headlines. I have seen the tweets. There are people in this market using words like superstar and like star in the making. And it's like, oh, well, maybe. But is that really what he is right now? And
because to be clear, if that was true, somebody that covers the Dolphins that the Orange Bloods guys trust enough to contact would not have said who.
Yeah.
Like, just work that out in your mind. If you're a Texas fan, you get to say things like, we should never hire a defensive line coach that was in the NFL, that when you ask an NFL person, they go, who? You should never hire that person. That is a fair argument just in and of itself.
I'm not telling you this. Nobody can say that I've thought it was a bad hire. I'm saying it's unconventional. The resume isn't what you would expect. And I don't know what to expect based on, there's not a huge body of work for me to lean on to go, oh, he kicked ass at Tennessee, Chattanooga. Okay, then. Duh. There's just only so much that you can do. And I'm never going to, what you're always going to get with us is reality. Now, it might be our version of reality, but what we will never do is just lie to you because we think it'll make you feel good. And believe me, I get it. I watch other websites. I see how they report. There are websites in this industry where guys are putting on Texas hats and they're hook 'em horns and they are Team Longhorn. And it changes the way that they talk to you guys. They tell you what you want to hear. Once upon a time, that was considered Aggie-ish, by the way. Just so you know. We're gonna give you all sides of the discussion, pros and cons, and we're gonna acknowledge the elephants in the room. And this is a hire it's quirky at best or worst. It's in the quirky area. We've already compared it to something that Mike Gundy might do. And you know what? We respect the hell out of Mike Gundy as a football coach. We appreciate the fact that he's quirky. We may not even be down with Mike Gundy, but you can respect what he's done. And at times he's done some unorthodox ways of getting there. So I'm not against unorthodox, but I can't ignore that it's unorthodox when it's unorthodox.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We got some chats coming in here, Catch, before we get to buy or sell. Jared with an interesting one. Did Catch and Chad actually see the D-line stats for the Dolphins, or is it just Kenny Baker's humble pass football stops where he looks mediocre? No, Jared, we've talked about that. We discussed it in the last day or so. Some of those numbers for the Dolphins defensive line, they were really solid this year, if not really good, up into the top 10. But back to the original point. He was the assistant to the defensive line coach that is in charge of that defensive line. However much credit you'd like to give him, that's cool. But, Catch, I haven't watched the Hard Knocks in season. How many times during Hard Knocks in season has Mike McDaniel looked into the camera with those badass glasses and gone, you know what the key to this whole thing is? Stop talking about Tyreek Hill. This is Kenny Baker. How many times? I don't know. I'm not watching. So y'all tell me.
Jared. Is there an assistant to an assistant coaching position in all of sports? Like in baseball, we'll take baseball. Baseball is completely random, but bear with me. There's a hitting coach. And then when the team doesn't hit well, do they ever say, who the fuck is the assistant hitting coach? We got to get that guy out of here. Or
he's fucking up Barry Bonds' head.
Barry Bonds' OPS hasn't been above 1.9 all season. Assistant hitting coach.
He's swinging at every goddamn pitch. Who's the assistant hitting coach?
Consequently, if Barry Bonds wins the MVP, they've never said, well, he had the best assistant hitting coach in Major League Baseball working with him. How was he not going to win the MVP? Hey, let's go to a different sport. Let's go to hockey. Every NHL team has an assist. I'm guessing, by the way, Chad, this may not be the coach.
Okay, here we go.
There's an assistant goalkeeper coach. If the goalkeeper has the best season in the world, do they say, how insanely talented is that guy? Do they? Maybe. Yes, probably. Do they say, God, what? Who was his coach? Maybe, probably. Yeah, sure. Do they say, anybody have any idea in the world who the assistant goalkeeper's coach was?
Because that motherfucker.
Because that dude's getting a raise.
Guy's a bad.
Jared, he's just not responsible. Good or bad. Good or bad.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's fair.
Just that's it. That's the bottom line.
Also, Catch, I do love the Dreamers. I know you love the Dreamers too. You said you were romantic earlier. Check out Christopher's dream. Christopher, I hope you're right. We need Sark to give us clarification on this hire, and all the speculation would stop. Hey, volleyball clap for that dream. Way to go.
The thing is, here's the thing. We're not being negative. We're the old guys from the Muppets. You just have to know that there's a part of us that we're going to be a little snarky. There's going to be some sarcasm. We'll come up with some ridiculous metaphors.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit like Haley's Comet, Chad. There's things that you can set your watch by us. But I don't think any of us have said anything negative. The thing that I will say this again. Look, we run a University of Texas football channel. You know what we like? Clicks. You know what we like? Viewers. Do you know what we like? More subscribers. Do you know what helps us accomplish that? Winning a bunch of games and being really interesting as a football team and exciting people. So the best way for that to happen is for every element of the Texas football program to be all pistons firing at the same time. A machine. That's how we get to 1 billion subscribers. Texas kicking ass in football for a long time. So never confuse ultimately what it is that we hope happens.
Yeah.
We are rooting for success because we can be terrible, but if the football team is great, that is the tide that lifts all boats. We can be awesome and the football team can suck and we can just wait for the tide. So never just know those guys just we're not being negative. Being realistic, and we're using some colorful metaphors along the way, but all things being equal, I hope this dude works out. Mm-hmm. I hope this dude $1 million in 2 years, Chad, because he's such a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. Hey, can you tell me more about Brandon Baker? Well, I don't know. I've never been to Chattanooga. Ho, 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 ho. All right, sorry. That would be the Muppet version. And then one other quick catch, just back to close up the Bo Davis conversation. Cotton reminds us, yes, Saban knew him from LSU, moving to the Dolphins. As you read through the Saban Bo Davis stuff, I think it might be fair to just acknowledge that connection, but acknowledge that connection in a major way. I don't know if you can discuss Bo Davis and his progression without discussing Nick Saban. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, because from 2002 through 2010, he was with Saban the entire time.
Yeah, so when you have a connection and you are working for the guy that ends up being the greatest college coach that anybody has ever seen, it's just a separate category. We're just trying to figure out in this story if Vic Fangio can clear something up. But Vic Fangio, in the history of college football and the history of football for that matter, is very little compared to what Nick Saban is. So that part of it is, it's almost like a specialized discussion to me.
When Steve Sarkisian gets together for the next signing day press conference deal and he's talking about the recruits, I promise he will stop and take time to thank everybody that he feels like really played a role. He'll be like, look, got to throw out credit to our director of recruiting, and he'll go through the list. He'll name all of the names, say we couldn't have done what we did without those guys. Now, he may not say it twice, but he'll say it once. Thank you to the men and women. These are their names. Couldn't have done it without them. In the NFL, when like the rare occasions when that happened, the assistant position coaches never get mentioned.
Right.
And it's just, and for that reason, you just can't give them credit or blame. Nobody does. If the Dolphins all just lost their jobs on the defensive side of the ball for the most part, right? Fangio gets fired. Nobody would say, why'd Fangio get fired? Not good enough production from the assistant defensive line and other assistant coaches. Like, it's just, so we're not even saying don't go overly positive, but we're also saying don't be overly negative. You can't draw major conclusions based on this job title.
All right, so we do have buy or sell coming up. We want to thank almost 300 folks in the Specs chat right now. Let's give Specs their love. It's a great place to get stocked up if you're getting ready for NFL or maybe the Longhorns at BYU. BYU doesn't allow some of those drinks, but, you know, Specs has got them. Come on now.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day. It's app or online shopping. World-class wines to hard spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
For the record, correction, Vic Fangio didn't get fired. They relieved him of his duties.
Yep.
They let him go.
My bad. They
released him from his contract.
And now he is going to be the DC in Philadelphia for Sirianni, correct?
Should, yes. Last time
right?
I heard, yes.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. All right, it is just about that time for buy or sell. Catch, you want to go first or second today?
I'll go second.
All right.
By the way, the chat is weird. Like, Benji, so we suck again.
Wow.
Sandman, yes.
Come on, fellas. What
Sandman 23, fire Sark.
Oh my God.
Which I know is like tongue in cheek,
right?
But like, that's not the conversation that's taking place.
That is not what we're talking about. Just trying to be fair to what this thing is.
And look, if the defensive line sucks, it's probably not going to be his fault. Like, I promise, at the end of the year, no matter what happens, I won't go, Kenny Baker really screwed this up. I'm way more likely to go, Bo Davis left Kenny Baker with shit to work with.
And we'll talk about
likely to come out of my mouth than Kenny Baker can't coach.
And you'll have to talk about Kwiatkowski, and you'll have to talk about Sark, and you'll have to talk about other guys too. It won't just be about him. All right.
Hold on. Here's one from Rhett. We just went to the playoff, Catch.
Yeah.
No, that happened.
You went to the playoff, and you're Texas, and you're about to go to the SEC. And Sark's has been a badass, and he's made some badass hires. And this, on its face, doesn't feel like one. That's all. That's what we're talking about. Like, it is what it is. It is what it is. Be a Texas fan. All right, here we go. Let's go to the hardwood. Catch, buy or sell. Number one, Texas loses to BYU tomorrow.
I'm going to sell. Texas is on a roll. Texas has the greatest basketball program ever. Texas was in the playoffs.
There you go.
Going to be great.
There it is. All right, let's stay on the hardwood, go to the pros. Buy or sell number 2, Steph versus Sabrina in a 3-point contest. You'd watch it.
Buy. Texas is the best. Texas was in the playoffs. Texas is in the SEC right now. Texas can only do great things. Sark is the Messiah. I worship at his feet. He can do no wrong. Wasn't even Chris Jackson. That wasn't even his hire. The devil made him do it.
By the way, for the record, if Ketch keeps this up, 50 Aggies are going to join Orange Bloods live in the next 10 minutes if he keeps it up. I guaranteed. Buy or sell number 3, Ketch. Jurgen Klopp announces he will leave Liverpool after the season. He is your favorite coach of any of your favorite teams ever.
Buy. It's not even close.
Okay.
He's, I think, either 9 or 11 years older than him, or than I am.
Uh-huh.
And I think of him as like my dad. Like, I love him like I've never loved another man in my entire life. I woke up this morning and it was the first thing I saw was a tweet that said it. And it just took my breath away. And I've been mopey and sad and depressed all day.
Yeah.
Nobody else has ever made me feel like that as a coach or a manager. He's number 1 on the list, and 2 doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I thought of you right away when I saw it. You know how it is when you like sports, music, it could do it like if a musician that one of your boys loves dies, like they're the first person you think of. You're just like, oh my God, does he know? And this isn't a death, but when I saw it, I went, oh, damn, I bet Ketch is morose right now. And
I shouldn't be doing a show today. I'm stuck in stages of grief. If you guys are unhappy with my performance today, realize I feel like someone died.
That might be that's what they'll blame it on. That can work. All right, Ketch, buy or sell number 4. Final answer, Ravens Niners.
Buy. Yeah. I mean, it's not a sexy prediction, but the Ravens were the best team in the AFC all year. That game's in Baltimore. They played better than the Chiefs all season. And the 49ers kind of ditto. That even when they wobbled a little bit, they thrashed the Cowboys. They thrashed the Eagles. The only team this year they didn't really punk that they played that was really good was Baltimore. Usually when they struggled with teams that weren't really on the level. But when given a big matchup, they usually came to play. It makes me think they'll come to play. And I think they wobbled a little bit last weekend. And I think they came out of the fire just fine. I think it'll be a really tough game between the Lions and the Niners, but advantage 49ers.
And finally, Ketch, how about this big round number? Buy or sell number 5. Bob Uecker turns 90 today. For you, Major League is a better baseball movie than Bull Durham.
Ooh. Is it better movie or better baseball movie? Clarification.
Better baseball movie. I did throw the word baseball in there, so I'll let you go to that specific definition, whatever you consider a baseball movie.
I'm going to say that Major League is a better baseball movie than Bull Durham by slight margins, although I think Bull Durham's the better movie. Mm-hmm. The thing that Bull Durham doesn't really give us in terms of baseball is finality and conclusion. We don't know how does Nuke ultimately do in the majors? What happens to the end of Bull Durham's season? There's a finish line that the movie doesn't attempt to even try to get to. The movie ends in a home with 2 people who really are no longer baseball people, right? In the sense of what they were. Whereas baseball really is about a team and a season and a goal and the players and their evolution and Uecker and the baseball components of it. So, yeah, I'll say bye. It's a better baseball movie.
Happy birthday to Mr. Euchre. I think he's still doing home Brewers games, by the way. Man's 90 years old. That is fantastic.
By the way, it's incredible that guy did that movie 34, 33-ish years ago.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how old that movie is. It's still super quotable. It's still it hasn't lost its fastball with regards to what it's trying to do. There are very few movies from that period that are evergreen. They are forever relatable. And him calling baseball games drinking while covering a bad team will never be done better.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. It's also it's my favorite baseball movie, but also because there are about 5 or 6 cast members. When you say their name to me until the day I die, that's what I think of.
By the way, you know what? We're kind of freestyling, freewheeling at the moment. Christopher Lyon says, off topic, is The Bear actually worth watching?
Christopher, I am 1 episode away from being done with season 2 of The Bear. I could talk about it for the next hour and not oversell. Here's what this is the ingredient. If you've ever seen this movie, you'll know what I'm saying. It has a Usual Suspects quality to it in that nobody can oversell it. Ketch could tell you for an hour why it's great, followed by me telling you for an hour why it's great, and then you'll watch it and it's great. That's what kind of show it is. It is one of the best I've ever seen. I'm locked in. I'm devoted. I'm dedicated. It already had one of my favorites, and then a couple others I knew. Now they're all my favorites. It's a phenomenal program. Yes.
And what he just said, I'd go on top of, but I don't need to. Yes.
And after that, I think Ketch likes it more than I do. Just to be fair.
I'm telling you, like, he told me, I'm starting to watch The Bear, and I was like, oh, a reason to rewatch The Bear? And we haven't even really dug into it yet, but I was oh, you made it through the birthday party episode, huh?
Yeah, that's how you know it's a great show when you say, oh, I'm going to start watching it. And the other person says they're going to like start rewatching it alongside you. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? That's great. Yeah, it's a great show. And like Ketch told me, digestible. Most episodes, all but one episode is either 30 minutes. Some are 27, 30. It's like 27 to 35 minutes. You can fly through it, even if you have to deal with some of the ads like I do. Doesn't take long. And yeah, so a digestible and only 2 seasons to get caught up. So yes, absolutely. All right. Halfway through buy or sell. What do you got, Ketch?
Buy or sell number 1. Justin Tucker. The Ravens beat the Chiefs this weekend on a Justin Tucker field goal late 4th quarter. Buy or sell?
I'm going to sell. I think their philosophy around Tucker has changed. B, I think the MVP level quarterback is going to make that play. I think it'll either be a Lamar scramble for a first down that closes a door, or it'll be a Lamar touchdown that closes the door. But I'm going to say it's Lamar that finishes it.
Fair enough. Buy or sell number 2. The Niners are going to the Super Bowl, but the headline on Monday will be the mistake that the Lions made and not the play that the Niners made that ultimately sends the 49ers through to the Super Bowl. Because did the Niners win last week, or did Jordan Love throw one of the worst interceptions in playoff history?
Yeah, no, that definitely happened. That did happen. All right. You can say all you want that it's my bias at play, and it may be. Sell, I think the Lions win the game.
From your mouth to God's ears. Like, I'm a Lions fan this weekend.
I have talked myself into it. I'm at least taking them with the points. San Francisco is going to have to win a close game here. And I'm going to go with the grit and the guts and the Dan Campbell stuff. I don't think they're circusy. I think they missed that detail against the Cowboys, but I didn't feel circus that night. I thought the better team had won the game except for a little technicality. I think those receivers are good. I think the Niners are fantastic when they're on, but I'm going to take what Goff and those receivers have going right now over Purdy. Until I see it, I'm not going to be able to trust Purdy to get there. I'll say Ravens-Lions is my pick for today.
All right. Real quick, let me just look this up. Bear with me. I could have prepared, but I've been sulking in my Jurgen Klopp tears. I want to make sure I get it right. I'm looking up defensive linemen that real quick, trying to find out who the highest rated defensive lineman was during the Bo Davis experience. So just give me a second.
The fact that you're looking this up during the show really does show off your multitasking talents. That's impressive.
Well, I think it's sad because the obvious answer is not one that just comes to mind. Okay, I guess it's this, okay? Jure Bledsoe is the highest rated recruit, I believe, because he's a mid 4-star. He was ranked 172 in the country. Buy or sell before Kenny Baker leaves Texas as its defensive line coach. He will sign a recruit rated higher than mid 4-star, number 172 in the country.
Buy. Absolutely.
Look at you.
It will happen. I'll be romantic. I'll be hopeful. It's a buy because he's just got to be that guy, Catch. Doesn't have to be the perfect guy for everybody. Just got to be the perfect guy for Sark.
By the way, that's so bad. 172?
That is bad. That's another reason I got to play the math. I got to play the math on that one. Come on.
I mean, if I'd said 72, you could have hemmed and hawed a little bit.
Yeah, they put a 1 in front of it.
What?
Come on.
Right. Buy or sell number 4. You have never loved a coach as much as I love Jurgen Klopp.
From the limited time that I have been around you with you discussing this man, that's an absolute buy. It's an absolute buy. Not only because of Klopp, which he seemed, I don't want to make this just about soccer, but the type of guy he is seems, that factors in, but also we are talking about the most important sport on planet Earth. And when you combine those two things, I can't come up with anything for me that would compete. So yeah, buy.
I'm so sad.
I could tell. Even his last name adds to the sadness because Klopp is kind of a name that when you say it, you got Klopp. You got kind of and now it's like all weighing you down. I can see it on your face and I feel bad.
He's like, it's hard to like, no matter what bad things happen, no matter what in real life or in sports, like there's a famous scene with Klopp after he lost the Champions League final with Liverpool to Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
First time they've gone, it's a devastating loss. It's like losing the Super Bowl, right? I mean, you only get so many chances. It's not really as simple as, we'll just be back. Like, yeah, maybe, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So to get so close and to not prevail is such a gut punch. And in the hours after losing the Champions League final, he was in a bar with like random Liverpool fans drinking and dancing and celebrating life. And it's just like, who does that? Who is in a bar, drinking with fans, singing team songs? He's a one of a kind. And
hey, you know what, Catch? I'm going to try to make you feel a little bit better because I don't think you're going to be able to have it this weekend, but I have an idea of something that could make you feel better. And for the people out there going through the pain, chicken fried steak at Hayes City Store.
Oh, can I tell you something about chicken fried steak?
Yes, you can.
Because this has to do with Hayes City Store.
Okay.
I don't have a Hayes City Store in the Woodlands.
Okay.
So last night I was like, you know what? I want like a meal. I just want a meal. Like my wife's not cooking. She don't cook. I don't feel like necessarily Grubhub or that. Can I get an actual something that feels like somebody made me a meal? So I went to a fancy restaurant.
Yep.
And I ordered chicken fried steak because I thought to myself, this place is so fancy. The chicken fried steak's got to be fantastic.
It's a good play. Go to the fancy place and get like a burger or a chicken fried steak, a pork chop. Sometimes that's a great move.
It wasn't. I didn't finish the chicken fried steak.
Oh, no.
By the end of it, I left portions of it. I didn't even feed it to my dogs because I thought they might have the shits. And all I could think of was, next time there's a Hayes City store read, I'm going to reinforce what a badass piece of chicken fried steak it was. How I wish last night the expensive chicken fried steak that I bought had come within a 10-foot pole of Hayes City store's chicken fried steak. So disappointed last night. Hayes City store, why weren't you in my life last night?
That's about as good of an endorsement as we could get you. Between Kyle and Wimberly, it is the chicken fried steak that will bring you back every time. And as you just heard, sometimes you'll even think of that chicken fried steak if you have a lesser chicken
As I
fried
was throwing it in the trash, Chad, I was like, damn it. I was damn.
Go have any of that great scratch-made stuff out at Hayes City store. The chicken fried steak's amazing. I got to go try the chicken fried pork chop at some point. They do everything well. They'll make you feel good, and you will want to go back. That's your QR code. They're out in Driftwood, Hayes City store. Now you just made me hungry for chicken fried steak. I did too. I did it as well. You got anything else, Catch? Are you about ready to go?
Not just sadness.
All right. I got a weird stat before we're done. You want to see a weird stat?
Yes.
Here's the stat you and I got to get ready for this weekend. I know we're both rooting for the Lions, but look at this weird stat I saw on Brock Purdy. Credit to SportsCenter. Brock Purdy against number 1 overall picks, quarterbacks, which Goff is. 4-1, 11 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. The yards per, and then the total QBR, 50 for the number 1 picks against Brock Purdy. So there you
know
have
what that tells me?
Huh.
First of all, the Niners have a badass defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't look at Purdy's stats. Just look at the number 1 pick stats, and then ask yourself, would anybody's stats next to those stats look good?
Yeah, and that's when you
yes.
Yep, that's true. Good point. So when you look at those stats, you're reminded that I'm probably on a Friday picking the Lions because I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm just one of them bitter fans that, is trying to speak it into existence.
You could have put Quincy Carter's stats on the list, and it still would have looked shining compared to what that was.
Oh, my God. That is fantastic. And here's the other one for you real quick, Catch. Did you see that Novak Djokovic lost in Australia?
No. Awesome. You just made me happy.
Okay, because you and I are both in the category of not really being Djokovic fans. Is that fair? Right. Okay. So Djokovic lost to Yannick.
By the way, he's great, but fuck him. Okay. Go ahead.
I am not in the fan club either. Yannick Sinner is the young man that beat him. 22 years old, German player, really good. One of those young guys that just is. These 3 guys have been in their way. It's making his first final. He'll play Medvedev. Medvedev's going for his 2nd Grand Slam. So, good luck to those guys. Australian Open finals are coming this week. Here's your stat, Catch. Starting with the 2003 Wimbledon, either Roger, Rafa, or Joker has won 66 Grand Slams, and anybody else is about to win their 16th. There you go. That's the number. I'm just so excited that anybody else is going to win. Not anybody. I love Nadal and I love Federer. Anybody but Joker winning it is good. That's a good thing. Catch looks like it. Oh, see, that's what are we doing? Ben, why? Well, why? By the way, I didn't bring that up. Did you do that? Did you click that up yourself?
I was trying to make sure that it said what I thought it said.
Knowing what you're going through today, I would never have brought that up.
Ben, did I have relations with your mom or something?
It's just rude.
What happened? What did I do?
They get too comfortable sometimes. That's what it is. They think they know you. They get too comfortable, and they just start saying weird things. That's strange. It's very strange.
I mean, I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Oh, my God. There's the chat of the day. Well done. Well done. Oh, my God. That's the best chat of the day. Easily. Oh, my God. Woo, that's good. BK. Nice job. Nice job. I think that's one to close the door on, Catch. That's fantastic. Oh my God. Okay.
Say, hey, who made these mashed potatoes? Grandma made them. Huh? Will you tell Grandma to come here? I've got to ask her who helped.
Oh my God. All right. Coming up at 2:00 on Orange Bloods Live, it is Football with Friends. One more time for the week. Check out everything at OBL. Like, subscribe, get your notifications, and have a good weekend. Enjoy those championship games in the NFL. And remember, Longhorn basketball at BYU tomorrow afternoon. I believe it is 1:00 on ESPN2. Check it out. Longhorns going for 3 in a row against ranked teams. Why does Catch try to understand the chat? Well, that's a whole nother question.
The thing is, do I have to say it out loud, Ben?
Wait, isn't Ben the one that sent the weird comment?
Yes.
Why would Ben, you sent the weird depravity and the strangeness, and then you come back on top with, why is he trying to understand it? Huh? What?
Well, Ben, the most obvious answer is that I'm fucking pretty messed up.
Especially today. Ben, you're going after him on a day when he's crushed as a fan. He's been crushed in a way he's never been crushed before. And you walked up to the crushed Catch and said, hey, that hoodie makes you look weird. I mean, come on.
Like an uncircumcised version of the thing you're sad about.
I don't even know what to do about that. You can't do that to people. Hey, I know you're totally crushed about the coach thing, but that shirt's weird. No, you don't do that. Like at a funeral, you don't do that. Hey, man, I'm so sorry about Uncle Charlie. By the way, that tie's awful. I'm going to go have lunch. Stop it. Stop. You can't do that. Let the man process. Look what he put under his name. I haven't been this despondent since. He's trying to figure it all out. Let the man process his feelings, all right? Come on. All right, there we go. Lots of Kenny Baker, Catch's feelings, and a weird comment about a hoodie. All right, Catch, you good?
I'm good, man. I could use a couple of days off.
Yeah, I can understand that. Have a good weekend. I'll be thinking about you and dealing with the whole Klopp thing, and I hope everything works out for him and Liverpool in the end. Thanks to Blake, the super producer, for his great work. Thanks to Specs for being a great sponsor on the chat. Remember to get that Specs delivered or hit your favorite location. You can go specsonline.com. They can help you out with all kinds of stuff for your get-togethers and your watch parties this weekend. Everybody have a good weekend. Until high noon on Monday, we are House Divided.